Thank you, Mr Deputy President. Well, I did note that we did have a New South Wales senator here, Senator O'Neill, speaking earlier as she responded to Senator Smith taking note of this question and answer. And at not one stage did Senator O'Neill mention that New South Wales is actually the recipient of the greatest number of cuts to projects. All she wanted to talk about was what was happening in WA, which is, of course, regional cuts, is, of course, disgraceful behaviour and putting regional populations in particular at risk, but notice that she didn't mention what was happening to her home state of New South Wales, which is seeing the greatest number of cuts. And again, we see this feeds into the complete narrative that this Labor government doesn't actually understand how economics work, because they're talking about cutting spending. But what they're also doing through some of these projects and taking them off the table, removing funding for them, is actually reducing productivity. And the one thing that will actually help reduce inflation, that will help get this economy moving, will reduce cost of living pressures, these wages that they talk about when we put that word real in front of it, the real wages that are declining at the moment, how we reverse that trend is by boosting our productivity. But what we see here are cuts being made to infrastructure that were specifically designed to boost productivity. If you go into the regions where these freight trails were, it was important for the Commonwealth to invest more than the states because they went through regional centres. And one that's going to be cut is actually my old hometown, Moree. They are going to lose improvements to the Gwydir Highway. Again, a very, very busy highway that sees a lot of freight trucks. It also sees combine harvesters, particularly around this time of year, starting to go up and down the highways as they move from property to property. Of course, it's also cotton territory, so we see big cotton harvesters out there. That's going, so we're going to put those lives at risk. And we also know that the intermodal terminal in Moree will no longer be funded. We did just hear from Senator Grogan refer to car park rorts. I did note what was interesting. The one in Campbelltown is actually getting a boost to funding. So obviously not all of them are rorts, because this government's actually giving a boost in funding to those to the one in Campbelltown. And I guess that's a good thing, because when you look at the volume of projects that are going to be cancelled throughout south-west Sydney and Western Sydney, the congestion around these areas is going to be considerably worse. So one of the areas that we're going to see a cut to, and again to quote Senator Grogan, projects that were half thought through. So the M7 to M12 integration project, and this is on Transport New South Wales, that is obviously now a Labor government. The way that they described the M7 to M12 integration project will support future development growth in Western Sydney by improving travel times and congestion. Once complete, the project will provide direct access to commercial and residential hubs and the new Western Sydney International Airport. So apparently, a half-thought-through project is one that opens up Western Sydney, one of the fastest-growing areas in the nation, at a time when we're facing a cost of living crisis coupled with a housing crisis. Those opposite, in another little brainwave that they've had, are going to remove construction and funding from a road that is deliberately being built to open up Western Sydney and to improve access and to ensure that the people that live in Western Sydney can work in Western Sydney. Because we understand here, when we put these infrastructure projects in and housing and commercial enterprises go together, it actually forms a community without people in Penrith having to travel to Sydney CBD every day to get a job and go to work, because the Penrith CBD is blooming and people are able to work closer to home. But we're also going to see a cut to the Werrington arterial stage, where this is another project that was going to boost economic participation and boost connection between the Great Western Highway, Werrington and Marsden Park. This is the south-west Sydney, another booming area where we are seeing young families move to, and we want them to be able to work there. We want those areas to grow and thrive so they turn into communities, and families can spend less time in their car commuting and more time with their family and loved ones. But over here, I mean, we have family-friendly hours in this place. What a joke. But, you know, that's how they are. That's how they operate, because family-friendly obviously doesn't come into it when they are taking away the opportunities for families to live and work and actually have infrastructure around them to make their lives
Thank you,
get
Senator
better.
Hughes.